So I met Joe through Success Club, which is an organisation that helps people reach their goals, whether they're personal goals or career goals. And I found it quite useful personally because I felt like I was held accountable. I want to talk in this video about Success Club and about other things that Joe does to help people with self-improvement. So, Joe, I'd like you to give a kind of brief introduction to our viewers.
Okay, well, first and foremost, I'm an author. You can see the books behind me, The Rebel Code, that's my latest book. My first book was Escape the System. I've got two others as well. So that's the main thing. I'm an author, but as you alluded to, part of that is I want to help people on a journey from being frustrated or uncertain or unclear about what path they're going to take in life to finding something that inspires them and being able to do that and being able to make a living from that. So it's not just the books that help them do that as well. It's the Success Club, which you come to yourself, Rachel, and is there for entrepreneurs, coaches, artists, creators to try and help them. As you mentioned, part of it's being accountable to your particular goals that you're trying to follow, the tasks, the steps you need to get to where you want to go. And then I also do presentations there. So that's a big part of what I do. Aside from that, I'm also a hypnotherapist. I'm also a tennis coach, but my main focus is my books and what I've created around that, the Success Club. I also do one-to-one coaching as well.
I'm curious, what led you to kind of pursue like entrepreneurialism or self-employment and helping people kind of improve in that area?
What led me down the path of the entrepreneurial lifestyle is that I was very weary of potentially having a mainstream job. I thought this is really bad news because I'd done a little bit of work while I was studying at university, and I thought working a 9 to 5, which, let's be honest, it's never really a 9 to 5. It's more likely a 9 to 6, a 9 to 6:30. Maybe you've got a week at work on the weekends as well. I just thought I don't want to live that lifestyle. I don't want the main focus of my life to be a job I'm pretty bored with, a job that's stressful, a job that just takes, and all it gives me back is some money. So I thought there's no way I want to do that. I'm going to have to find my own path. So I don't so much consider myself an entrepreneur. It's more I found my own path through life, and that involved tennis coaching, hypnotherapy, and now writing. So it's my journey more than I know they are entrepreneurial things, and I do help people with entrepreneurial work, but it's more about I think it's a higher calling than that. It's more about finding your path and your calling through life. So that's what got me to do it. And then because I'm passionate about it, because I thought to myself, I can't be the only one feeling this way. I know I'm in a minority in terms of I'm one of the few ones who actually takes action and breaks free from what I call the system. But I can't be the only one who feels this way. So, this is dear to my heart. So I'm keen to help anybody who wants to do the same.
Out of interest, what did you study at university?
It was politics. I began studying history and politics, and I left thinking, oh, I've had enough of history, it's boring. It wasn't that. I just had enough of studying, full stop, because I came back and did politics, and I had the same problem and wasn't really demotivated with my studies, but I stuck it out and did my politics degree.
Can you tell the viewers a little bit about the Escape the System book and people's reaction to it?
The content of the book, Escape the System, is sort of like a journey. I'll talk about the main idea. My thought, as I've always been a big personal development fan, a big self-help fan, read lots of books, been inspired by them, really like the genre. So I thought, well, what can I add to the genre? So much has been done already. I don't just want to write a copy of somebody else's book. And my idea is that what a lot of people are missing is that there's loads of useful information in the self-help genre, but the problem is that people don't take account of the fact we live in this very uninspiring system, this system which drags you down, that's very difficult to escape from, that kills your dreams. You know, on the one hand, you're being told to chase your dreams, but most of these books don't take into account the fact that the system completely kills your dreams. And when I say that, the people around you, most likely your parents, your teachers, are going to tell you, look, it's not possible, just play it safe, get a conventional job. The people your age are going to be doing the same thing. So it's very hard to actually have the courage to do it and to believe that it's possible. So with Escape the System, I wanted to show people that the system isn't as all powerful as we're led to believe, that there is room for people to break free, to follow their own dreams, to have their own creative ideas, and that you can be successful doing it. So that's what the book is all about. The reaction to it has been good. It was slow at first. When I first released it, it was called Screw the System. So it was a slightly different book, but I updated it a few years later and changed the title. It became Escape the System. And since then, it's been quite popular. Got lots of 5-star reviews on Amazon. I've had people say, that it's helped. It's been a book that changed their life or changed the direction that they were on, gave them belief that it was possible. So I'm pleased with the reaction to the book. I'd like to. So far, it's my first book and it's my most popular of all my books. I'd like there to be more book sales, but I'm relatively satisfied with the response.
I think a lot of people don't understand self-employment, especially what I'm doing with the content thing, because it's kind of not necessarily guaranteed income-wise. And I've had people kind of say things to me like, oh, look at all these other people here. They do conventional jobs, they have an employer and they do the standard 9 to 5. What are you doing with your kind of career? Why aren't you more like them?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. So many people say that, and I wonder why sometimes. And sometimes I think it's because they are not happy in their conventional careers. And as long as everybody else is doing the same thing, it doesn't really matter if they're unhappy because we're all in the same boat, we're all unhappy. But if somebody dares to break free and does something different, that kind of highlights or shines a light on the fact that actually I'm not particularly happy doing this, and it makes me feel really uncomfortable that somebody else is breaking free and doing something completely different and not having to put up with all the bullshit that I have to put up with. I know what I'll do. I'm going to crap on their idea. I'm going to put them down because it'll make me feel a little better and it will mask the unhappiness, the unfulfilled life that I'm living. I think there is an element of that when people give you comments like the ones you just mentioned.
I think that's kind of true, but I also think it's partly about people having an issue with like lack of stability, so they wouldn't do a job that wasn't necessarily that um like unstable.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. There is that, but it's funny. I've been self-employed now for 21 years, and you are a bit scared at first of the lack of stability, and you're always wondering, God, is the work going to last? But once you get into the flow of it, something pretty special happens, and you no longer fear where your next paycheck is coming from, where your next client is coming from. You're into the flow of the work, and they just come, and they continue to come, and it's a great way to live because most people can't cope with uncertainty and that lack of stability. It completely throws them to become someone who can exist in that uncertain world. I think in terms of your own personal development as an individual, it's a really powerful thing to do.
I think I'd have less money, but feel like my job was more fulfilling and I enjoyed it more. And I was also learning like a lot of new skills than stay in a job that was like more stable for me, more money, but I wasn't kind of going anywhere.
I would turn money down for so many things, health, the ability to keep, I play a lot of sports, being in charge of my time, not having to be at a certain place at a certain time every single day. I value all of these more than money. You need a basic amount of money to live, of course, but beyond that, there are so many more things I value than money. But I think I'm in a minority. Maybe both of us are in a minority that way because most people, I think, get brainwashed into thinking that money is the be all and end all and that financial security is the number one priority and nothing really comes close after that. Yeah, well, that's the whole idea of it. So you talk about your goals, they become clear to you. Other people hear you state them, what you plan to do. So between we do one session a month, people are invited to at the end of the session say, what are you going to accomplish by this time next month? And then everybody says it, I record it all, and then we follow up the next month to see if we've done that. So there's definitely that definitely has some influence. I think there are even studies to show how powerful that is. I can't remember the exact statistics off the top of my head, but writing your goals down increases the chances of you doing them. But writing your goals down and then sharing them with other people, I think that over doubles the chances of just writing your goals down. So it's a powerful psychological tool you can use. And then there's not just that element of Success Club, there's also each at the start of each session we report on any significant success we've experienced over the last month. Now, the point of that is to focus our minds on what we're doing well, to noticing how we're progressing. Now, you could say, well, what about the failures? It's important to learn from the failures, and it is, and you should learn from your failures, but I really believe in my 22-year journey of living, trying and living my dreams, that you can't dwell on your failures. Yes, you've got to learn from them, but you should dwell on your positives. You should notice your positives more because the phrase success breeds success is very true. And if you can start noticing your successes, you'll have more of them.
I think starting out is quite easy to focus on the negatives, but highlighting the positives helps you feel better overall.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not a delusional thing either. It's a good thing because that switches your mind state and gets you being more productive, gets the ideas flowing. And that's the way to progress. You don't progress by getting down on yourself because you haven't got any clients yet or things haven't gone well for a few months. That you're only going to continue the lack of progress if you're trapped in that mind state. And that's why it's so important to shift to noticing what positives you have had.
How does the Rebel Code follow on from Escape the System?
I've sort of approached it from a different angle. In the book, I talk about there being three different types of people. You're either a leader, a follower, or a rebel. So I wanted to write a book. I read Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life, and then he has a follow up with another 12 rules called Beyond Order. And I quite liked the book. I wasn't the biggest fan of the book, but I liked the idea of rules for life. That's something which I thought, well, that's good. But I couldn't just copy him. I thought, well, how would I do it? And I thought, well, I would come up for rules for rebels. But then loads of people said to me, "Oh, rebels don't have rules, so you can't call it 12 rules for rebels. That's never going to work." So I was like, "Oh, damn, that was annoying. I'm going to have to come up with a new title." And I came up with the Rebel Code because it's the code rebels live by, and it's 12 steps to help them succeed. And it follows on from Escape the System because I think it gives you more of an action plan. It's ultra clear. The 12 steps, all you have to do is follow them and it will change your life. And the 12 steps would deal with lots of different areas: financial, relationships, finding your path in life, and just an overall philosophy that people who are rebels, and when I say rebels, I mean people who challenge the status quo and want to create change, the philosophy they should live by that is going to be best for them to be successful, but also to be happy with what they're doing. So I do think it's an improvement on Escape the System. There's less talk about the system. In Escape the System, I talk about all the ways the system holds its back. In the Rebel Code, I approach it more from the perspective that, look, as a rebel, you're in a minority. Followers are by far the greatest amount of personality type that we have in our societies. Leaders, less, but there's still more leaders than there are rebels. So as a rebel, you are in a minority. You are essentially living in the leaders and the followers world. How do you succeed when you're living in the leaders and the followers world? That's what the book deals with, rather than the system, how it's holding you back, etc. So it comes at it from a new approach, but anyone who liked Escape the System, I'm sure, will like the Rebel Code, because there are some similarities. But it's like if you think of a book in a series, a novel you read, a fiction series you really like, it would be the equivalent of that. Escape the System and the Rebel Code would be, well, they are. I've created a series for them. It's called Live Life on Your Own Terms, and it's got one of my other books as well. So it's more like a series, but there are definite differences.
Could you read a bit from the Rebel Code?
Probably read from the start of the book, where it's actually defining the different types of people. Okay. Since the dawn of humanity, there have been three types of people: leaders, followers, and rebels. Which one are you? Leaders. So leaders are driven by a need to acquire and utilize power. They want control. Whether this drive is born of ego or nature is sometimes unclear. Either way, they excel at motivating others, either through fear or encouragement, fighting threats, and maintaining cohesion. Leaders occupy the highest positions within society. Sometimes respected, sometimes feared, they are almost always obeyed. They are confident, sure of themselves, and certain that the society or organization in which they operate is right. So I'll just give you the brief follow-up about followers. Followers are driven by the need for security. Although capable of enjoying themselves, deep down they feel threatened by life. They fear running out of money, getting ill, losing their job, and being ostracized by society, friends, partners, and in their place of work. Followers adopt a safety-first approach to life, avoiding significant risks unless they are forced to take them. The follower doesn't set their sights on winning or creating a legacy. Instead, they focus on getting by. Followers occupy almost all positions in society. They are by far the largest group, and this means you'll find them everywhere. You'll see them in hospitals, working as nurses and doctors, and you'll find them at schools, working as teachers and departmental heads. Major companies and corporations are filled with followers. They begrudgingly accept excessive working hours, being screwed over when it comes to promotion, and the unethical decisions of the leaders they work for in return for a monthly paycheck. The police, the civil service, and the armed forces are also packed with this personality type. You'll find many followers in low-skilled roles: factory workers, fast food restaurant operators, retail assistants, and cleaners. Okay, the last one is the rebels. Okay, rebels. Rebels are driven by the need for freedom. They want to live life on their own terms. Unlike leaders, they have no desire for power over others. However, unlike followers, they absolutely will not tolerate another person having power over them, especially if this power is abused. Money in of itself is not important to the rebel. They find little happiness in consumption. However, because they value their freedom so highly, money can become important as a mean to an end, granting them the ability to live a self-determined life. Rebels occupy some of society's most extreme positions. You might find them at the very top, as their creativity and ability to think outside the box leads them to become billionaire entrepreneurs and pioneers within their industry. Many outstanding writers, musicians, and artists are also rebels. Other rebels shun the limelight and content with living life on their own terms. These are the owners of small businesses, solopreneurs, and the people with 2 or 3 side hustles. Not all rebels are successful. Unfortunately, many experience a life of unrealized potential as they struggle to find their place in the world. Without any obvious outlets for their creativity and unique perspective, some rebels try to fit in with societal norms and roles. This can lead to them holding down regular jobs and seemingly stable marriages. On the surface, they appear to live normal, well-adjusted lives. However, underneath, they can't shake the feeling they've compromised their dreams and authenticity. I'll stop it there.
I feel I've learned quite a lot from going down the kind of self-employed route. And I was talking to someone who said that they felt that everyone should start their own business because you kind of gain a new skill set and it kind of helps you develop. So what's your kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would agree with that person, unless you're really clear on what your path is, and that leads you to being an employed role. Unless, I think that's a minority of people who are super clear all along what they want to do with their lives. If you're not, definitely start a business because you will learn so much, you'll experience a lot. And I often think, not that I ever would, but if I went into the employed world of work, in some respects, I'd have so much more to offer than people who've just been in the employed world of work, because I would have a completely different perspective and experiences, and having to do everything myself for so many years. I think it's a tougher challenge. In some ways, it's a tougher challenge being self-employed and being an entrepreneur because the demands are so much higher. In other ways, it's not a tougher challenge because I think, God, it must be tough turning up every day, having somebody telling you this is what you got to do, not being that inspired with your job. That's a different type of toughness. But in terms of developing your skills and abilities, I think definitely having your own business could be such a benefit to so many people.
So you do hypnosis. Do you think everyone can be hypnotized?
I meet very few people that can't be hypnotized, but then being hypnotized, there's a lot of mystery around it, and it's not as mystical as people think. You're not controlled by another person. You are simply in a state of focused relaxation, a deeper state than you would be having a conversation, or when you've got to actively use your brain on something. So it was more the start of my career where there were 1 or 2 people I couldn't use it on, but that was probably more through my lack of experience and skill. Now that I've been doing it for so many years, I can't remember the last time I had to stop a session because I couldn't get someone into a state of hypnosis. So my experience would indicate that, yeah, almost all people can go in, unless you're under the influence of something. I think I had, right early on in my career, I had somebody trying to help them who was an alcoholic, and they turned up drunk to the session, and obviously it's just not going to work. And I had somebody it's crazy, I got all the hardest ones right at the start when I was least experienced. I got somebody coming in who'd been sectioned, and they were so drugged up she could barely keep her eyes open. So again, those kind of things. If you've got a cold, sometimes it's difficult. But if you're healthy, your mind's working fine, I'd say there's a 98% chance you can be hypnotized.
Is there anything else you'd like to say to the viewers?
Yeah, I think that's everything. Just if anybody is interested in the book, just check out the link below. Also, if you like the sound of what I'm talking about and want to find out more about my work in general, go to my website www.escapethesystemnow.com, and you'll be able to find more about my books and about my blog posts. Get in contact with me that way.